times, Marcus Fitzsimmons and Troy Provo Heron.
Hello, everybody, and greetings from the Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville. I'm Mike Edwards, the Greenfield Gunner, along with Donnie Moore and Marcus Fitzsimmons, and this is the Goatee Sports Page. Tennessee ends the regular football season in style, and we're going to the whistle blows. And now let's set the lineup card, sponsored by Blunt Partnership. The University of Tennessee Sports Report, sponsored by the Cherokee Group, and the Murphy's Bobcat SEC Notebook lead off with Marcus Fitzsimmons and Donnie Moore. Today, we'll look back on the Vols game with Vandy and recap the season. Carson Newman assistant football coach Tony Aruli will be in the house. Donnie Moore will update us on high school scores and news from around the area. And then Mark It Down with Marcus Fitzsimmons, sponsored by Mandy B. Street Realty, features the Herman Ramsey Sportsmanship Award presentation. The Anderson Lumber Company Player of the Week segment featuring Marcus Fitzsimmons will be on the docket as the Paul Gilly Sportsmanship Award will be announced. Donnie Moore returns to discuss headlines from around the sports world before the Boyd Sports Spotlight shines on the conference championship football games. And finally, the Bowl Prediction segment closes out today's show. And now it's time for the Cherokee Group, UT Sports Report, and Murphy's Bobcat SEC Notebook, featuring Marcus Fitzsimmons and Donnie Moore. And Carson Newman, assistant football coach Tony Aruli, is back with us this morning. Good morning to everybody on a wet Saturday morning.
Yeah,
and,
good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning. It's good to be here.
Yeah, and
you know,
we got the parade.
We got our float ready?
Well, I don't know. I think they're still working on it.
They're still
Tony.
working on it.
Yeah, they're still working on our float. So.
Well, I thought they were going to have Donnie right out in front and with flowers and tulips around him.
Yeah, Donnie Moore. This is exciting times. Like we mentioned, the parades this morning, and Alcoa football brought home another state championship yesterday. Huh?
They did indeed, Mike. Tornadoes, ninth in a row.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
22nd in history. It was a good day down in Chattanooga at Finley Stadium.
You know, if that school ever gets destitute for money, they can melt down all those trophies and get out of debt, can't they, Tony? Huh?
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, they celebrated. This year they're celebrating 100 years of tornado football, and 1/4 of those years, 25% of the time, they've won the state championship. What kind of percentage is that?
You build extra cases? What do you do with all those things? They're not small trophies either.
No, build a new wing.
I guess.
I was going to say, they just keep adding more and more.
You got to build onto the school.
Balls are pretty big.
Yeah. Well, let's start. Let's let her rip right off the bat here this morning. And I'm ripping Coach Josh Heupel for his decision to go for a field goal with 28 seconds remaining in the Vandy game and leading 45-24. What in the world is this guy thinking? You're up 3 touchdowns to a pathetic football team, and you want to put more unnecessary points on the board by kicking a field goal? Would someone please tell Coach Heupel when it's appropriate to kick a field goal? He has a problem with this the last 3 games of the season. He has kicked field goals, Tony, that are absolutely worthless in all 3 of those games. I mean, take the ball, take a knee, run it off tackle. I don't care what you do with it.
Right.
But don't kick a field goal and run the score up. I think the decision was classless. I think Coach Heupel and Tennessee program is better than that. I guarantee you, if Alabama and Georgia had done that in their games against us, they would be livid around here.
Absolutely
livid, and that's all they would want to talk about.
Yeah, and they know that it's Vanderbilt, so the chances of any repercussions not going to be be happening within the next 10 to 12 years, and it wasn't necessary. Just go take a knee and shake hands and get off the field.
Right.
I mean,
if you run it off tackle and you score, that's a different deal. I mean,
sure.
You got the defense out there, but a field goal from 5-yard line, that's a done deal.
Yeah,
that's points on the board.
Totally agree.
I don't know if it. I question whether he'd have done that against Alabama and Georgia because, are a better team or a ranked team because those teams wouldn't forget that.
Well, he did something like that against Missouri last year.
I'll guarantee you, stunts like that come back to haunt you. Huh?
Right. I was saying there were some things that happened at the end of the Missouri game 2 years ago, and I think Missouri got back at Tennessee this year for some of those things.
Yeah. Let's talk about Tennessee and the Vanderbilt game last week. Tennessee closed out Vanderbilt 48-24 and closed their regular season out. They closed it out in style, and Marcus Joe Milton III was the story. I guess the Vol fans finally saw what they would have hoped to see out of Joe Milton for the entire year in that Vanderbilt game, as he threw for 4 touchdowns, 383 yards, and ran for 2 touchdowns himself. 6 scores in that football game by Milton.
Well, you knew Joe was capable of it. I mean, that's not a surprise. I think fans were excited to see him do that, and I think part of it's because you expected him to do that against App State. You expected him to do that against some of those non-conference games, and he didn't. So that it was as good as we've seen him play at UT, but it was against Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
So, put an asterisk beside it. I'm sorry, but that's just what you got to do with it. Nobody takes their Vanderbilt scores and stats with, they're supposed to balance out. You play Vanderbilt and Alabama, and somewhere in the middle is what you're truly capable of.
Yeah. And, Donnie, we got the fans has been hollering for a Nico Imalava, and they got him in the game.
They did, yeah. Nico, California got in the game.
He got in the game.
And played
some,
and did pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would have thought they would have put him in a little bit earlier. I think that, I was glad to see that Tennessee didn't kind of slog through the game. They came out there and played hard and, was very productive. Hooker had, like I said, a good game and all that. And so I was impressed that they did that. But, again, it was Vanderbilt, and it was good to get that out there. But I would like to see him play probably a little bit more at the quarterback position because that's our future. And Hooker's, he's at the tail end of his career here, and you need to see who's going to be the heir apparent and see how he does.
Marcus, Vanderbilt, they're obviously struggling down there, and they've struggled for the last couple of years. Now we've got Texas and Oklahoma coming in this league. They are making some renovations to their schedule, but it's going to be extremely difficult for them to keep up with everybody in today's landscape, don't you think, going on forward?
Well, let's look at it this way. Football is one sport in the conference. It is the sport in the conference, but it is one sport. Vanderbilt's going to compete in every other sport.
Yeah. Sure.
Well, you're
sounding a lot like you're sounding a lot like the Blount County schools. It's hard for Heritage and William Blount to compete against Alcoa and Maryville, but they compete real well with them in all the other sports.
If you're Vanderbilt, what's your incentive? We're going to spend extra millions on our football program that is in a stadium that can't be moved, can't be really improved without vast amounts of money. They're doing what they can. You're not going to be able to recruit 150 kids to come into Vanderbilt with Vanderbilt's admission standards that can play on the level of the rest of the SEC. That's just, if you took Notre Dame, Stanford, Cal, Duke, and put Vanderbilt together, they might be able to have enough players to compete at the top level between all five of them.
Yeah.
But so if you're Vanderbilt, what's your incentive? Yeah, we're going to get spanked in football. We'll be competitive. We'll win 1 or 2 games a year. But we're going to, when it comes basketball season, when it comes to baseball season, come on over. We'll be happy to have you. Is Vanderbilt's attitude.
Yeah. Tony, Tennessee finished the season 8-4. Want to get your take and everybody else's take on their thoughts on the 8-4 season. Was it satisfying, met expectations, a little disappointing, or was it disappointing to you?
Well, we all kind of thought there was going to be a significant drop-off from the previous year because of the players that are losing. Hooker comes in and, he's the guy now, and, he had an all right season, but, he's not at the same standard as the previous quarterback. And winning 8 games – I think Tennessee fans got really spoiled from last season's team. And to think that this year's team was going to be at that same standard, I think was not it wasn't going to happen. And so I think that, it was kind of where, great minds like ourselves, we kind of all thought that was kind of be where Tennessee's at. But, it's a high standard right there. And the injuries hurt Tennessee down the road. Yeah. And so that's kind of where they ended up.
So and the rebuild is not a smooth line. When you're talking about where the Tennessee was and you're rebuilding a program, it is not a smooth upward progression that just takes you straight up to the Alabama level. There's going to be some dips in there.
Sure.
And this was
there's no dips at Georgia and Alabama
now at this point in time. But if you're Georgia, you're still sitting there and stung about Tennessee beating you on that last second play, because that sets you back into that role, that ascension role, a full season.
Yeah. So you were pretty well satisfied with their season, Tony, overall.
Well, that's what I kind of thought they would end up being and all that. But like I said, you lost some great players from the year before, and it's hard to Tennessee is not where Georgia and Alabama is in terms of their second and third team type of guys, where when it's time for them to go ahead and be the guy, they're not at that same type of standard.
Right. Marcus? Met expectations, satisfied, a little disappointing, or disappointed?
Well, you're asking the guy that predicted 7-5.
I know you were disappointed to start the year.
I'm ecstatic. I'm like, they finished 8-4. They're probably, we'll find out for sure Sunday, but they're probably going down to the Tax Slayer Bowl and going to Jacksonville. Jacksonville would love to have them back. You're probably going to play Carolina. That's a lot better than some of these 7-5, 6-6 years, or 5-7 years that Tennessee's been through. So, no, it's not last year, but it's also not – you're not falling off the log again and going right back to the bottom like we've seen Tennessee do repeatedly in the 2010s.
Yeah. Donnie?
I've got to say met expectations. On this show back earlier before when preseason rolled around – some of us picked 8-4. I myself being one of them. Regular season, and depending on the bowl outcome that Tennessee has, they may be 9-4. Who knows?
Yeah, they
may be 8-5.
Yeah, I think as far as the record goes, 9-3, 8-4. I think that's where a lot of people thought they would be.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a little bit of a downer. I hate to be that way, but I'm a little bit disappointed because in the four losses the games they lost to four ranked teams at the time they played them, and they weren't even close. They got killed. I mean, they got beat in all four of those games, and they weren't in them.
Right.
They weren't in any of those games.
Well,
I'm okay with the record.
Yeah.
I'm okay with the 8-4. But I'm a little disappointed in the four losses that they didn't compete any better.
But that is the downside to the Heupel offense. Is if that offense is not putting up tremendous numbers, it goes so fast, and your offense isn't wearing that defense out, but you're wearing your own defense out because you've got them on the field so much.
They're on the field a lot.
So that leads to those type of scores. When your offense isn't keeping pace and doing that, that's what's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
But here's the good thing. The good news is this isn't the expanded playoff year. So if you're going to take a dip down and you're expecting to come back up, you want to come back up when you've got that expanded playoff field next year.
Well, we'll see. Yeah. We'll see because, this next year will be Heupel's fourth year. He's going to get his classes in there. And he's got a new quarterback next year.
Yeah.
And we all know how valuable that quarterback is, and the quarterback he's got ready to go supposedly didn't get much game experience this year, Tony.
Yeah,
so.
I think what kind of threw everyone off was I think the Missouri game because
and Florida.
And Florida. That's right. I mean, that's what those were two games that. You're a heavy favorite going down to Florida. Florida's not playing well, and you lose there. Then you go to Missouri, and you wiped out Missouri the last year, and all of a sudden you got smacked big time. After that game, and so that's.
But you take if either one of those goes the other way, fans are ecstatic right now.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, easily. Yeah.
But the fact you lost both of them is why fans are.
Yeah, well, they're still ecstatic. They won last week. They beat Vanderbilt big, and now everybody's back on the bandwagon. They're ready to roll now. Hey, Tennessee's 8-4. They're in the top 25 at number 21. Donnie, should they be with 4 losses in the top 21 in the country? Or I know there's maybe a couple of teams that's got 4 losses that are in there, but Tennessee really doesn't have a resume that looks like a top 25 team. I mean, they didn't beat anybody. So
no, I don't know whether they've got the resume to be in the top 25 or not, but all being said, they are. So let's just take that as a small victory.
Yeah.
Sure.
How about this scenario, Tony? It looks everybody's saying, well, they're going to the Gator Bowl. They're going to the Gator Bowl. They're going to play Carolina. Everybody kind of thinking that, boy, what if they threw a loop and said, Tennessee's ranked 21st in the country, and by golly, Liberty won last night. They don't have a loss, and they're 24th. Let's just match Liberty and Tennessee down there in that Gator Bowl. I wouldn't like that deal. Would you like that deal at all?
No, because you don't want to go down there and lose to Liberty.
No, sirree. And they beat New Mexico State last night. Well, isn't that the team that whipped Auburn down there just a couple of weeks ago and like a drum? And they beat them 45-20-some. I don't think I'd want that game.
And Liberty plays that up-tempo type of offense. Could
that happen or not? Could they do something like that? Because they're right close together in the poll.
Because there is not a sports writer in this country who wants to cover that game where you're going to have 250 offensive snaps between those two teams. We don't have notebooks that big.
It would be a bad day being a defensive player on either side of the ball, because there'll be like you said, 250 plays, and those poor defensive players, they're going to be worn out.
Well, the better deal is to play North Carolina. They're a little bit on the slide. They put up a lot of points, but they don't play very good defense. They're 8-4. Mac Brown started the year. They were ranked in the top 15 right there at the start of the year, and then everything kind of went south. And their quarterback Drake May, I don't look for him to play in the game. I don't think he's going to play. I think he's going to opt out.
Yeah.
So there you go. You're going to play North Carolina. Last year they played Clemson, and they changed quarterbacks. Remember the quarterback transferred that played most of the year, and they were stuck with a guy that hadn't played very much. Now Tennessee's going to play North Carolina if that happens, and they're going to play a North Carolina team in all likelihood is not going to have their main quarterback. So how valuable is a win there?
Yeah.
Huh?
Well, like I said, it sets it up. Tennessee's got a great opportunity to win 9 games, and that's not bad.
That's right.
And so,
and North Carolina sets it up for that.
Sure.
Pretty much.
And you're going to get a lot of fans going down to that game, because that's a good spot for fans going down to Jacksonville. So it should be a good opportunity.
Marcus, you like that matchup, North Carolina and?
I like any matchup that doesn't include Tennessee going to Music City Bowl. Because they're cursed in the Music City Bowl. Yeah. But outside of that, I mean, it's a good destination for them. It would be a great matchup if that's what they give them on Sunday, because it's a game that, for a while, we've wanted those two teams to play in the regular season.
Well, we had them on the schedule there several years ago, and we threw them out about 2 weeks before we played them, because we wanted to remember when Dooley was here. We had North Carolina scheduled. Hey, we're going to get rid of that game. We bought them out and put somebody else on there so we could go to a bowl game.
So that's what I mean. It's a game that I think the fans want.
Yeah.
It's a natural one, because this is for East Tennessee. This is still a border. It's your North Carolina border, and it's a game. It's the only one you don't play against is really North Carolina, Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you look at the game, and the bowl games. They're not really what they used to be, Donnie, because kids they're opting out of those games, because of the draft and so forth.
Plus, there's so many.
They've lost some of their luster. Well, but from Tennessee's standpoint, I'm going to tell you right now, it's a pretty important game. 9-4 looks a whole lot better than 8-5. Tony.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so that's why they hopefully are going to be very excited. And I'm sure most of their players are not going to opt out, not to play the game. And so I think Tennessee will come in that game, fully ready to go.
Let's talk about the 12-team playoff that comes into play next year, and really where Tennessee is going to be in all of that mix. I can't see Georgia and Alabama falling off.
No, from that 12-team playoff.
I'm thinking those two teams. So this year it would have been Georgia, Alabama, Missouri, and Mississippi. I think LSU was right there at 13 or somewhere. They may have been left out. Go ahead, Marcus.
Next year you would have Texas in that mix as well.
That's correct.
And that's losses one way or the other because Texas is going to play either Alabama or Georgia.
That's correct. And I'm thinking, well, how many SEC teams out of the 12, are going to be in that mix? Is it a better deal than what they've got right now or not? I don't know.
The SEC is going to be complicated enough because you're going to have that picking the two best teams to play in the championship game thing going on. We're still waiting on the final schedules. We got some of the games released this week as to when we're going to play some of these games, but we still don't know what the November schedule is going to look like because it's going to be all important.
Sure.
Well,
and you've got the other factor going on here is it's when you get outside of the SEC, which is just adding 2, when you look at what's going to be happening in the Big 10 and Big 12, we have no idea what it's going to look like because if you've got Ohio State playing USC in the regular season and then playing Michigan, do those 2 losses are going to knock them out or are they going to consider that you lost against good teams and you're still in the running?
Yeah.
I think the whole formula is going to be in chaos next year, which is really, really fun.
Yeah. I tell you what I'm thinking. If you liked 8-4 this year with Tennessee's program, you may get to like an 8-4 real good when they get into this new setup. What they've got to do. You may thinking, man, if we could just finish 8-4.
Yeah, we got a chance to be.
One of those schedules has Tennessee going to Oklahoma and Georgia in back-to-back weeks.
Yeah.
Good luck on that one.
That could be tough.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if like I said, that's just one of the projections. We haven't seen the actual final schedule yet, and it's supposed to come out next week.
They're going to have Georgia. They're going to have Alabama. They're going to have Florida, and they got Oklahoma on there.
I don't think there's Florida next year.
Don't have Florida next year?
Are you sure? I don't think Florida's on Tennessee's schedule next year.
Well, the good thing is we got Vandy.
Thank God.
And we can always kick a field goal.
We can certainly do that.
Yeah, we can.
It's just a whole different world we live in right now in football. Whether it's recruiting or
I don't see that
schedules
deal.
or just.
I don't see that deal being easy for anybody.
No.
And you toss this in as well. I don't know if you've seen this, but the recruiting services are now putting stars, not just stars on the guys in the transfer portals, because they're reevaluating them as what is their actual college star value. They're putting an NIL value with those guys as to what they expect they would need to get an NIL money to come to your school.
Yeah.
The head coach at Nebraska, Matt Rule, mentioned this past week that any transfer quarterback that they're looking at, they got to be ready to offer them at least $1 or $2 million in the NIL money in order for him to transfer into Nebraska. And so I mean, it's like totally different.
It's probably a whole other topic. I understood to a degree. I mean, the compensation for players needed to change. The formula needed to change.
Yeah.
We've swung the pendulum way far the other way at this point, and it's become a minor league with no regulation. And if that's what you're going to do, you're going to end up.
That's why I said is that the route we're going right now, within 10 years, going to school is going to be an option, whether they go to school or not, because they're going to be employees of the school. With Joe, different than a janitor or field maintenance guy, and just going to school. If you want to go to school, that's fine.
Do you get consolidated retirement credit for that? I wonder if you're an employee, if you're a college kid employee of the school.
I can tell you this: with no divisions, you don't have that. Hey, we were the East Division champions.
Yeah.
We were the West Division. You got one conference with a bunch of teams in there. You win the Southeastern Conference. With this new setup, you better take care of that ring, buddy.
Yeah.
You better take care because it's worth something now, big time. Yeah. And the championship game. So you got a whole different deal. It was hard enough to win an SEC championship the way it is. Now it's going to be really hard, Tony.
Yeah.
To win an SEC championship.
And
that only goes for football, but it goes for basketball and the other sports too.
Right. All it has done is just complicated things worse and worse. And like I said, we're all basically from the same generation.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not what our generation had envisioned to where football and Catholics were going to be like.
You know what Steve Spurrier would have said about Tennessee's season? He would have said the same thing that he said at Florida. we played a lot of games. We had a lot of great moments.
Yep.
We had a lot of great plays.
Yep.
We had some good individual performances, but we didn't win anything.
That's right.
We didn't win anything, you see.
Yeah.
And now, you still got the bowl game. But if you don't win the bowl game, you've gone through a whole year where you really hadn't won anything. You just played some games, you know.
Yeah, and it used to be, it was always a special honor going in a bowl game. Now it's like, you know, there's so many of them like this, and you don't even know who the sponsors are.
At least they're going to Florida. You know, that's attractive to Tennessee folks. You know, they can go down to Florida and go to Disney World. And
it's better than going to Idaho or Montana for a bowl game.
The mayonnaise bowl where if you win, they dump a bunch of mayonnaise on top of you.
If I was the head coach, I would say.
Or the Music City Bowl or the Liberty Bowl. I mean, you don't want to go to them places.
No.
So I was wrong. Donnie pointed out that Tennessee does play Florida next year.
Okay.
And we have.
See, that's off. That makes it even worse.
Look at Donnie.
Donnie's
the fact checker.
Yeah, he is.
He is.
He's the. Yeah.
He's got it down and all that.
So, you know, that's a tougher schedule than what they've been looking at.
Well, and this is just, I mean, we're sticking with the 18 formula for next year, and it's a one-year deal that's going to have to be reapproved. The push is, and I think it's because there's so much going on with the other conferences. We don't know what the playoff criteria is really going to look like, how many wins are going to be enough to get you in. But, you know, the SEC takes to a 9-game schedule, which was the original push, which was with three permanent opponents and 6 rotating. That's a tough schedule. Mm-hmm. No matter what your rotation is, especially if Tennessee keeps Alabama as a permanent opponent.
Yeah. Well, they're playing 8, but they got to play one Power 5 school, which Tennessee's playing North Carolina State next year.
So I mean, it's going to change the nature in a way, because you're going to have, one way or another, you're going to have one less paid for smaller tier team coming to town.
Yeah. Hey, let's switch gears a little bit. Tennessee's basketball team went to North Carolina the other night. North Carolina came out of that game 100-92, and Donnie Moore, it was a offensive show over there.
It sure was.
And listen, offensive is the
word. Never in my life.
I'll
tell you what.
Tennessee talks about defense.
I mentioned I really like Tennessee going up and down the court and scoring a lot of points.
Yeah.
I didn't mean not playing any defense at all. I mean, we still got to play a little bit of defense, but I do like them going up and down. And you know, you get beat 100-92. I mean, you could have played great defense and got beat 60-52 or 60-54. So I don't know if I'm going to get beat. I'd rather get beat 100-92. But
I don't want to get beat that way.
North Carolina, the first half. Have you ever seen anybody throw so many shots up there? Everything
went down.
Everything went in. It didn't matter whether they shot free throws, outside. I mean, they were banking them in from three-point land. And
they scored what, 61 in the first half?
Yeah, and I know Coach Barnes was just livid. I would have liked to have been in that locker room, wouldn't you? I'd be
scared to death.
My God. But you know, when you're down 24 points, Marcus, that's hard to overcome. But even at that, the last 4 or 5 minutes, they still had a shot.
Yeah,
they dug themselves out of a huge hole, which was a combination of Tennessee playing bad, and Barnes has said that. But North Carolina played extremely well. I think at halftime, Tennessee was shooting better than 50% from the field, and they were down by 24.
Yeah. And Dalton Connect getting hurt there with about 4 minutes to go.
That's the biggest concern.
That was a big. That was a thing. Yeah, he had 37 points at the time, and Tennessee was on a roll right there. That was big in this basketball game.
Yeah.
You know, so but. A good performance out of him, and, of course, he had the ankle. And Josiah Jordan-James, he kept him in the game the first half. He ended up with 20 points, and Jonas Adu had 13, and Jordan Gainey had 11 points.
It's kind of funny how the week before we were talking about Tennessee, tough, stingy type of defense. You know, we're not scoring enough, and all of a sudden now, they give up a lot of points, to North Carolina at halftime, and we had some great offensive performances.
What we want to see is, how hurt is he? How hurt's Connect? Is it just a tweaked ankle, or is he going to miss significant time? But the other thing you want to see is Adu for real? Because if you remember how the second half starts, it was a combination of him scoring and setting up Connect on some shots. And he played as well the first 4 minutes of that second half as he's played at Tennessee.
Yeah.
If that's the way, if he can play that way without fouling out, then Tennessee's got a post presence.
Hey, that first half, North Carolina had the best ball movement of any team I've ever seen play against Tennessee. They they moved that ball so well that they had wide open 3-point shot. Tennessee's got to get to the free throw line more. 16 throws in that North Carolina game. And North Carolina went 38 times.
12 against Kansas?
And listen, that's the way it's been most of the year. They've got to get to the free throw line. But anyway, we'll talk a little bit more about Tennessee's basketball here in the later segment, and a little bit more about the ACC SEC challenge. Hey, it's time to take a break, and when we return, Donnie Moore will provide high school scores and news from around the area, and veteran sports writer Marcus Fitzsimmons joins us with his feature Mark It Down. You're listening to the Goatee Sports Page, Blount County Sports Voice, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
It's payday, and on payday, you want to have access to your money right away. When you enroll for direct deposit at Knoxville TVA Employees Credit Union, your money comes to you with no waiting. It's the fastest and most secure way to get paid. Getting set up is easy. All you need is your account number and our routing number. Find out more at tvacreditunion.com.
Join us now.
Federally insured by NCUA. Some restrictions apply. Ask for details.
Since 1925, Anderson Lumber in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. But did you know Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store? You can stop in anytime and see our incredible kitchen showroom. From floors to cabinets and everything in between, Anderson Lumber's experts can help you design your dream kitchen. And then our install team will make it a reality. For anything home, we welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa or shop over 67,000 items online at AndersonLumberCompany.com. Anderson Lumber, since 1925.
Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com.
Merlin's Music World in Maryville is owned and operated by Dylan Davis and has been a fixture in Maryville since 1987. Guitars, amplifiers, lessons, sound system, and video system installations are products available at Merlin's. Merlin's also offers a 24-track digital recording studio featuring audio engineer Rusty Chambers. Visit Merlin's at 1920 East Lamar Alexander Parkway or call 977-0093.
We all want our loved ones to be safe. Denso in Maryville is at the forefront of creating technology for safer vehicles. Join the automotive industry with Denso in a fast, challenging, clean, and safe environment. They offer great benefits and competitive pay, as well as a convenient on-site healthcare facility, cafes, fitness center, and more. Start your future now. Entry-level production positions start at $16 an hour for second or third shift. Visit densocareers.com/Maryville to learn more and apply. The
Welcome back to the Goatees Sports Page. Donnie Moore, by golly, you were down and saw the state championship game yesterday. The weather wasn't too good, but boy, Alcoa brought home some more hardware, and that was exciting, huh?
That's who it was. The weather was cool, but the tornadoes were hot.
Yeah, yeah. So you're going to go over that there this morning and with everybody, and then we've got Marcus is going to give out the Bob Knight Sportsmanship Award this morning.
That's right. We got special.
We got to first got to throw a chair.
Yeah,
first got to throw a chair before you receive the award.
These chairs here at Blueticks are heavy. I don't know about
that. We better turn it over to Donnie.
Couldn't throw them too far.
But let's give that prop though, because for people who are watching us on YouTube this morning, we got the windows open again. Because we're highly anticipation of Santa Claus coming by later in the show.
True that.
Because the Kiwanis, is it Kiwanis?
I think so.
Or JC's.
JC's
Christmas Parade is scheduled to come by later
Christmas
on this
parade,
morning.
yes.
So we've got it open and ready.
So we got the Christmas parade coming up, starting at 11 o'clock. So just shortly.
Well, we better get Santa Claus in here and talk to him because we're probably all on the wrong list.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the naughty list. Well,
people have been lined up for quite some time here on.
Yeah,
Marcus is okay, but you two, you're definitely.
Yeah,
on
it
the
looks like the Macy's Thanksgiving parade lineup out there on the streets, doesn't it?
Yeah. All right, let's start off with the Mandy B. Street Realty local scoreboard. High school football is winding up right here. Yesterday, the last couple of days, in fact, the TSSAA state championships have been going on down in Chattanooga.
The Blue Cross Bowls.
The Blue Cross Bowls, that's right. And at Finley Stadium at University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. Yesterday, we had the odd classifications. That's not because they're odd.
Yeah,
that's because they're the odd numbers. Class 3, Class 1, and Class 5.
That's right.
Yesterday, I went down and witnessed the Class 3A game at 11 o'clock yesterday morning. Alcoa versus East Nashville Magnet School.
I know. Why is it called a magnet school?
Well, a magnet school has something probably to offer that regular high schools don't. They focus on sometimes the arts, literature.
And you're allowed to go to that school outside of your zoning.
Yes.
They
have open enrollment.
Gotcha. And if you can play football real good, you're able to be like a magnet.
Those students do. And the East Nashville Magnet School is recognized as one of the best schools in Nashville.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, some communities already got those magnet schools. They seem to draw from a lot of different areas to get their players, Donnie. Huh?
Let's go on with the score here.
Let's move on. Notice how quickly we're moving.
You can save all the piling on for another day. This is
got a lot of magnet schools around here.
We've had Alcoa in here. We've had players and coaches in here. The players had a great game, and they deserve their recognition.
They
for
do.
This one.
They do. And Alcoa won this game 42-20. That was their 9th consecutive state title. 9th consecutive state
totally
title. They're 22nd in school history. Both of those are state records.
Sure.
And let's say, because this is a point I feel like I have to make every couple of years. The streaks and the records are great, and they're a testament to the coaching staff and the programs.
They certainly are.
This is more about these players and this team.
That's right.
They may be continuing a legacy, but you know what? The guy who was starting a quarterback 9 years ago did not win the game yesterday. Nope. Eli Graff won that game yesterday.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, and these guys work so hard.
Sure.
So let's go ahead. I've stolen some of your thunder, but give us that MVP award.
The most valuable player of the game was quarterback Eli Graff, and he played a marvelous football game.
He had that East Nashville defense gave Alcoa some trouble throwing the ball.
They did.
Mm-hmm. They had some real athletes back there. In fact, they did pick off Graff once after this thing was out of hand.
Yeah.
But he finished 10-17. The biggest play has to be the fake punt. We've seen Alcoa run that fake punt. Yeah. Everybody knew that fake punt was coming. This was the very first time this year Alcoa threw the ball out of that fake punt formation, and it went for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Well,
Eli took a few steps like he was going to run it, and then pulled up and threw it to Eli Owens.
Owens made a great catch. Brought it down, and it set up a score a couple plays later.
Yeah.
But I mean, I talked to Eli after the game, and he said, "Well, they finally let us put that into the playbook this week, where I could throw out of that formation because up until this point, it's all been a run. It's been run, read RPOs type of thing, where he could run it, or he could kick it, or he could, hand it off. He could shuttle pass it a little bit. But this is the first time they put a vertical pass into that formation.
Yeah. I think the big play of the game was the opening drive where Alcoa picks off the interception and returns it back for a touchdown. And then the very next series, Alcoa again makes another interception, runs it down to about the 10, 15-yard line.
And that opening pick six was a freshman, Micah Jones.
Yeah.
And let's say that Alcoa's first drive went nowhere. They got the ball,
Correct.
and went nowhere. East Nashville drives right down the field, and it looks like this is going to be like last year, where this is going to be a slugfest.
Yeah.
And so there are two things that started happening on that series. One was Alcoa's defensive line set up camp on top of the East Nashville quarterback.
Right.
He had nowhere to go. He had a 2 count to get rid of the ball. On the interception, he was throwing the ball out of bounds. There was a receiver in the area. He was throwing the ball out of bounds. Micah Jones jumped at the out of bounds line and kept it from going out, and then shuttled up the sideline to score. It was almost the same thing on the second interception. It looked like a throwaway ball under duress.
Yeah.
And again, that was Damari DeBoer's picked
that on the second one, he misread the coverage. Okay, because they played a cover 2, and they high-load the corner, and the corner route was open. He threw it to the wrong guy. He threw it to the underneath route, and then that corner stepped up.
But he also had, I think it was Joe McCord coming breathing down his neck.
Oh, yeah. Right, yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like he had time to sit up and read that. He was throwing quick.
Exactly right.
And after that, they got 3rd and long on, I think, 3 consecutive series, and they ran the ball. They didn't try to throw for the first down.
Yeah.
And
to put them in bad situations.
I think they lost all confidence in being able to throw for a first down in those situations.
Yeah.
And when they did that, those were 3 3-and-outs, and Alcoa scores 6 consecutive touchdowns.
Right.
And puts this thing away.
So it's 35-7 at halftime, and it's just it's a done deal.
They shut them down. East Nashville had the ball. It was another 3-and-out to start, and Alcoa goes the other way. It's 42-7, and the mercy clock is running. Now that said, we still got the longest scoring run in Blue Cross Bowl history out of East Nashville.
99 yards.
99-yard run, and let me tell you, that guy's for real.
Oh, yeah, he is.
East Nashville's backfield was for real.
They've got some great athletes.
And if they had come at Alcoa a different way, trying to run rather than trying to throw, I think this may have been a much different game and a much more entertaining game a lot longer than it was. Unless you're an Alcoa fan. Alcoa fans love what happened.
Oh, they do.
But everybody else that was watching, I think this would have been a very interesting game if East Nashville had come out trying to run on Alcoa rather than throw on them.
I agree.
Yep.
I agree. But the upshot, congratulations to the Tornadoes on their 9th consecutive state championship, 22nd in school history, and congratulations to Eli Graff, MVP. Congratulations to Coach Nix and his staff, too. They worked hard. They put together a great game plan.
That whole senior class,
yeah.
I think this whole senior group, Alcoa always treats its seniors very well as to their responsibility within the team.
Sure.
But this senior group, they just really hung together because they've taken some hits, they've taken some criticism, they've had a lot of attention focused on that team for different things, and they've just kept on playing.
And they didn't leave there without state championships.
Well,
they
could judge, this senior class isn't as good as the previous senior class, and it's not quite as good as it was. They held exactly right. They held together very well, and they played great throughout the entire season.
You know what I think was a big factor with this football team this year and where they got back to another state championship was the fact that their schedule. They scheduled up. They scheduled They scheduled more upper division, 6A schools than they've ever scheduled.
Beat West High School,
and they had the only one
17 points.
Yes. I think that you got to kudos for that. I think that is a big factor.
The only team they played that didn't make to the quarterfinals of the playoffs was Maryville.
Yeah,
correct. They went and played Greenville, and that got canceled.
That one got canceled, but that was another quarterfinal team.
Sure,
right.
Semifinal team.
Yeah, semifinal team.
But even Tottenville made it. I didn't check what happened last Saturday, but they were playing into the second round of the New York playoff in the Empire League. I mean, everybody they played, they weren't out scheduling wins. They were scheduling tough games.
Right.
And if we go into what happened in the nightcap last night, I got to say, you see the other teams doing the same thing because East Nashville played Page back in the beginning of the year, and They took Page to overtime. Page was playing in the 5A state championship game last night.
Right.
I mean, you see some of these top programs that are playing outside their classifications, and why they have to play some of these region schedules they do, that's a whole other conversation. But that's not the school's fault. They don't set the regions.
No, they don't.
Not in this state.
Well, let me give you a quick rundown of the other games that happened over the weekend. In the Division II games, state championship games, a private school. In Class A, Middle Tennessee Christian School defeated Friendship Christian 28-13.
So the Christians won then?
They did.
Okay.
Exactly. In AA classification, CPA Christ Presbyterian Academy defeated Boyd Buchanan, and you'll recognize the coach there. That's Gary Buchanan, Gary Rankin.
I like Gary Buchanan better.
Yeah, well, he would too, I guess. Now,
Give it another.
Gary
Rankin.
They beat Boyd Buchanan 35-13.
Yeah.
But Gary did a great job just getting them to the state championship right there.
Just, it's another one of those. It's not a situation he walked into Alcoa because he inherited a state championship team at Alcoa. He stepped in there, and how far they've come in 2 seasons.
Oh, it's marvelous. Yeah.
I mean, just for them to be competitive, there's argument to be made they don't need 3 classifications in private schools any more than we need 6 in the public.
Well,
but they
true too.
Given what they had to play with, they got to the championship game
they sure
and
did.
Put up a fight.
And in the AAA classification, the Battle of the Titans, I guess you could call it, Chattanooga McCauley defeated Chattanooga Baylor 34-28, and I've never seen a crowd. That Finley Stadium was full. It holds 20,000 people.
Yeah.
And there was not a seat to be had.
Yeah. I've had a couple coaches tell me that was probably one of the best games they've seen.
It was a fabulous game.
Absolutely great game.
I couldn't count the number of D1 commits on those 2 teams, Tony.
Yeah. I think there's about 11 or 12 of them.
There were a bunch.
You could argue there was more talent on the field Thursday night than what UTC puts out there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
be
surprised at all.
And the stadium was as full as if UTC was there.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, at least. There was a full house. Yesterday, in the other division, Class 1A game, South Pittsburgh defeated McKenzie 14-7.
Defensive
good game right there.
Slugfest.
Defensive slugfest, sure was. Defensive struggle. And in the nightcap, Marcus was alluding to earlier, Knox West defeated Page 24-19. And Page was knocking on the door. They had it 1st and goal at the 5 and couldn't get it in the end zone after that 3 tries. 3 tries left. Knox West put up a great defensive stand right there.
And Knox West, I don't think they even scored in the second half.
No,
they
didn't.
I think they were up 24-7 in the half.
Great comeback by Page.
It was a little bit of the same thing. 3 turnovers by Page in the first half, basically turned into 21 points for Knox West. And Page rallied. They did what East Nashville couldn't. They came back and they were throwing for the win on the last play.
Yes. Yeah. Great game.
And it was fantastic to watch.
I got to give a shout out to one of my former students at Middle Settlements Elementary School and William Blount High School, Charles Rathbone, the head coach of Page Patriots.
I didn't realize that.
Yep.
I'll be darned.
Yep. He did a great job getting his team up to the state championship.
And didn't his son have a couple of big plays in there?
Yeah. What was his name? I can't remember his name. But anyway, he did. He had.
I thought I heard the name called on the field a couple times.
Sure did. Well, today it's the even classification.
2-4-6.
Yep. But Class 4A plays first. Pearl Cone versus Upperman. Class 2A plays next. Riverside versus East Robertson, and then in the nightcap it's Houston versus Oakland.
There you go.
So,
which it's a lot of teams traveling a long way to play.
It is.
But you're going to see. I think the first one, Pearl Cone Operman, should be an interesting game just for the contrast in styles to that.
Yeah.
And I don't know much about those 2A teams, but I know some of the teams they had to get through to get there. And anybody that could beat York Institute, to me, has got to be worthy to be in at Finley Stadium this weekend.
Yes, they are.
Because that was a very good York team that we saw earlier this year against Eagleton.
York and East Robertson had a little skirmish, I think, last week. So
well, that's been a characteristic of this postseason. So.
All right, that's it for the Mandy B Street Realty Local Scoreboard. You're listening to WKCE 92.5 FM and 1180 AM Mid-Century Radio. Now, Marcus, I'm going to kick it to you because we've got special guests.
We have special guests, and what we're going to do, Donnie, let's take a commercial break, and we're going to bring them on for a long segment. We've got the Sportsmanship Awards coming up, and we want to give these guys all the time and attention they deserve for this. So let's hit commercial. We'll come right back and present the Blount County Official Sportsmanship Awards.
All right, Mike, tell us what we're dealing with.
Hey, it's time to turn the page. The Anderson Lumber Company Player of the Week segment will be on deck. You're listening to the Goatee Sports page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today. Call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month.
Your newspaper? That's right. The Daily Times is your newspaper, tailored to where you live, emphasizing the things that affect you and keeping track of the people and players in our community. The award-winning Daily Times can be delivered each morning right to your door or inbox with the latest in local news and sports. For a 30-day free trial offer, call 981-1100 and begin enjoying your life, your times, every day with the Daily Times.
For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at StevensonTire.net. Waters Equipment is your East Tennessee New Holland agriculture and construction dealer. Waters Equipment has been serving Blount County for 48 years and has 2 locations in Maryville for sales and service for New Holland equipment. Offering shop and field service for trucks and equipment of all brands, Waters offers equipment rentals for New Holland skid steer, Mini X, and tractors. Call 238-9000 for your rental needs. That's 238-9000. Waters Equipment New Holland. Excellence in service. The Bluetick Tavern is home to the tastiest pizza in Blount County. Try our signature Broadway barbecue pizza, grilled chicken and red onions covered in mounds of mozzarella. Or sink your teeth into our one-of-a-kind chicken and bacon pizza. Made with an olive oil base, grilled chicken, bacon, red onions, and covered in Brussels petals. The Bluetick Tavern also has salads, sandwiches, and the area's largest beer selection. Regularly recognized as the best pizza in Blount County, it's the Bluetick Tavern, located at 128 West Broadway in downtown Maryville.
Welcome back to the Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards along with the rest of our broadcast crew, and now it's time for the Sports Page Player of the Week segment featuring Daily Times senior reporter Marcus Fitzsimmons, sponsored by Anderson Lumber Company, where quality service is always a priority, proudly serving Blount County for over 75 years. Marcus, you got a full agenda there, so I'm going to turn it right over to you, guy.
Well, thank you, Mike. We do have the special guest. We try to do this every year, but the Blount County Football Officials Association makes the presentation of the Herman Ramsey Sportsmanship Award for the high school athletics, for high school football, and the Paul Gilley Middle School Sportsmanship Award. So I'm going to turn it over and let them do the official presentation here for us. And
okay.
we don't. I think we'll have to do the middle school without Coach
Coach
here.
Wampler. Yep.
But go ahead and give us the introduction and rundown here.
Okay, so the middle school award is named after Paul Gilly, and a lot of people at this table I know knew Mr. Gilly, and what a wonderful man he was. He officiated football in Blount County for over 52 years and was a fixture in the Eagleton community. He would go out and help them. He's retired from Alcoa, and he'd go out and help them do bus duty, stuff like that. He loved – his heart was with that middle school age children, and so therefore when we decided to do a middle school award, it was a no-brainer in whose memory that it would be. It would be after Paul Gilly. He exhibited traits of sportsmanship and all manner, and the kids just loved him for it. I mean, he even helped them coach out there a time or two, and if they weren't on the winning side, he would tell you, he said, tell the other coach, do not apologize for the score. He said, those kids, he said, they worked for this, and whatever the score is what the score's going to be. He didn't worry about it. He was never that petty about things. He was teaching on a higher level than just the game. So, and with that introduction, our 2023 award winner is we service Lenoir City, and North Middle School has a cooperative middle school team. Their coach is a guy that many of you guys know, Chris Wampler, former UT football player. Does a wonderful job with those kids down there. I don't have a middle school age son, but if I did, I wouldn't mind him playing for Chris Wampler because he is a lot like Mr. Gilly in those respects. He loves those kids at that age, and he's teaching more than just middle school football. So I will have to go, and when those two middle school play basketball, I'm going to go give the award to them at the basketball game. So.
And that's one of the things I think is interesting because, like you said, they play football as a co-op with both schools forming one team. But those guys are going to be playing against each other on the basketball court, a lot of them, which I think is always a little bit interesting when those situations come up.
I think it takes it to the next level as far, I'm sure, as aggression goes. So.
But they know how to be good sports about it.
They do, yeah. If Coach Wampler's around, I'm sure that'll play that'll have some effect on the game on how you act.
When you all think about this, how do you kind of judge a team on their sport? Like, do you all talk about it, or is it just like, do you all have like a blacklist file of who's going to get sentenced and have to go do this game?
No. As far as so Steve Hodson, he's our assigning officer. He assigns the games, and so everybody pretty much in the association gets the opportunity to work most schools. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way. But at the end of the season, we will get together and everybody votes on who they feel like exhibited those traits that year and at the highest level. And then we send our plaques and our trophies out and have them engraved in. And we'll talk about things like, how did they treat us? Did they spend all their time officiating or did they spend all their time coaching? You usually find those that spend their time coaching and less time officiating are a little more successful. And he has earned the reputation. If he asks you about something, you better reconsider it because he doesn't ask a lot. And if he's asked you about it, he might very well be right. So, we have that much respect for him. One quick story on him. One time we had a young official, and I can't remember what happened, something out of bounds, and he kind of got on him a little bit, and the next day he called Steve Hodson and apologized for how he acted. And then the day after that, he called, and he just really said, I shouldn't act like that, You don't get that a lot nowadays, especially.
No, I would think that would kind of stand out in your memory when a coach calls to say I may have been out of line.
Yes, you probably counted on one hand.
Well, that doesn't happen very often, does it?
No, especially with you, JD.
Oh, Tony.
Okay,
Tony set himself up.
I'll hide in the corner here. I'm sorry.
But we had fun. We had fun with him, though.
So, give us an idea. We've talked about this in the past, especially during the COVID years. But now that we're out of that, has your ability to get new officials, has that improved some, or are you all still in a kind of a staffing crunch trying to staff middle school and high school and JV and all of that?
We are kind of an outlier in that our numbers have stayed roughly the same. We may have gained one or two. We're pretty picky. We don't just want warm bodies. We want individuals with high moral standards, first of all, and the current officiating staff. If we see a guy that we think fits that, we'll start talking to him. And then we'll get him to come out in the spring and work some scrimmages. Doesn't cost him a thing. No commitment still. It might be for him. It might not be for him. And so we've gotten some younger guys in that do a fantastic job and are in some bigger games. But our staffing is such that we've been able to – so we service all the Blount County schools and the 3 in Loudoun County, and we've been able to staff them with no problems. And we actually send crews on Friday nights a lot of times to the association that works between Crossville and Cookville, and they only work 5-man crews. So when we have spare officials, we send a crew down there and help them, and not many is. And then they in turn will send to Nashville, because Nashville's the one that's hurting the most. But but a lot of times, the younger generation don't. They use this phone. It's not exactly a face-to-face thing, and maybe a coach being a little harsh with them might not be for them, because they're not used to that. And that's just kind of how our society's headed, unfortunately. But we've got some young guys that do such a good job with that, and we mentor those guys. And Steve, he will put them in start them out in like a middle school game with. We'll send a 5-man crew with 3 veteran officials, and never just stick them out there on an island and just throw you to the wolves and let you go. That's a good way to get one ran off. So we don't want that. We want them to come back, but we recruit. We've got a website, and if anybody ever goes to bcfoa-tn.com, if you're interested in being official, there's a link on there. Click on that. And you can send your information. It winds up coming to me because I'm the scrimmage coordinator. Spring, I'll give you a call. We'll get you out there with some guys and see if it is for you. If it is, great. And if it's not, we understand that too.
So this is one we've debated back and forth off air in the past. But is there a change now that we are so used to watching football on TV with instant replay and multiple angles? Does it change the way you have to start training an official, because they have to get it on that first and only take they're going to get when they see a play? They don't get to go back to a monitor in high school and middle school, but they're so used to being able to do that at home. When you first get them out there, do you have to train them how to remember what they just saw?
Yeah, they call it snapshot. You got to take a snapshot in your mind of what you've got right in front of you. We are taught of the mindset that if you see the foul, you need to see the foul from the beginning to the end, not just just one piece of it or the other. And never is a good way to come as an official to your referee and say, I think that. No, we need. What do you know? We need to know that. So, and then also, the college thing, and you'll get that with fans too. They'll want to apply a college rule, for uncatchable pass. That's nothing. Last year we had a kid a hurdle, and he thought it was a great play, and his dad thought it was a great play. Is at Lenore City? Well, in high school, that's a penalty.
Yep.
On Saturday, that's a great play. So, so we told him, hopefully next year you get the opportunity to display that skill on a Saturday, but today it's a 15-yard penalty. So.
Well, I'm glad to hear the association is doing well, because like you mentioned Nashville, but there are so many that are struggling right now, and that's why when fans ask us, why we have so many Thursday games now, is trying to meet that need in a lot of the places to get enough officials out there. But you got another award. We got the high school award to present, and we've got a coach in-house to help accept it, so I'll let you take that one away.
Okay. So the high school award is named after Herman Ramsey, a longtime Blount County official. A lot of guys at this table know, big-time college, especially basketball official, officiated in Rupp Arena and all. I know his daughters, but I didn't know him personally, but I've heard lots of stories. He could work, he can run a ball game. He's a great administrator, but he had fun above all. And so after his passing, I wasn't in the association in 1991, I think it is, 1991. But we decided to name that after Herman to carry on his legacy. And a lot of the coaches that are around to get that, they really like that, same as Mr. Gilly, because it means a little something more to them because they knew the individual. And a lot of guys at this table know exactly what I'm talking about there. Same thing, same criteria as we do the middle school, because we do the voting at the same time. Do it as late as we can in the season. Talk about, and it goes out all the way. In high school, it's a little different. You got game administration you have to deal with, and I've started refereeing. The Wild Hat, you got to start on Tuesday, get in contact with school. Here's officials coming. Here's everything we've got going on, and we take consideration, how they respond to us, get the information we need back to them, because we do our level best to get them everything they need prior to the games to make everything go smoothly. And we voted on it, and this year, with that, the 2023 award winner is Eagleton College and Career Academy, their first-year program. They did everything right this year. You might have a hiccup here and there, starting varsity ball, playing varsity ball with juniors on down. Had a great year. We even went to the playoffs in their first year of existence. So, the future looks real bright for those guys out there. Coach Childs couldn't be here today, so he sent Coach Winstead to stand in for him. And I'd like to present the 2023 Herman Ramsey Award to Eagleton College and Career Academy to Coach Winstead.
Well, Coach, congratulations.
Thank you. This is it's a big deal. Like you said, we're a first-year program, and when others think well enough of you that you're sportsmanlike, and that's what we try to instill in our kids, instill as a coaching staff to, it says in the scriptures to treat others the way you want to be treated. So same thing we try to instill in our guys, and it comes down to the end of the day, we're all human, and we all make mistakes and we all do things, but you guys are doing a great job. We had a lot of great crews this year, no major complaints. Like you said, we had small hiccups at the Hampton game when we look over and there's no goalpost pad. And so your defensive line coach and your wide receiver coach run and go get that. But for a first-year program, this is a big deal, and we're very honored to have this award, and we thank you.
Yes, sir.
Well, just to warn you, we're going to ask you to put that thing over your head, and Hodson's going to go get a glass of water to dump over you when this is done. So we can make this look like a real celebration.
All right.
But, it'd be so easy as a first-year program because you don't have some things established, and you don't have that seniors, and you don't have some of that leadership yet in place for things to kind of slip here and there.
Right.
The fact y'all didn't do that, like you didn't have some of the instances we've seen with veteran teams in other places with players losing their cool and having incidents like that. How did you all kind of instill in the players this is the way Eagleton's going to be on the field?
Well, first off, we're blessed. We've got a great group of kids. They're good in the classroom. They're good in the halls. So that job's kind of easy in that part. And then also we're blessed, we've got 2 former head coaches on staff. So this ain't their first rodeo. And we've got a good group of guys, a good group of high character coaches that instill in these players sportsmanship. And it's one thing to do as I say and not as I do, and we try to model that for them because they see us on the sidelines, they see us in practice, they see us in the game and in those situations. So, just modeling that for them. And then, like I said, we've got a great group of kids. Now, are we going to have a personal foul? Of course. They're teenagers. They're 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old kids that in the heat of the moment, they might say something or let something slip. But, there's consequences that they face for that. Whether it be a 15-yard penalty or getting ejected, they face consequences on Monday as well. So
there was a point in time, Donnie and I were talking about this, where if you were at Alcoa, the penalty wasn't what you were afraid of. It was going to face Coach Rankin after you got that penalty that you were afraid of. But and you mentioned one of the stories. I was hoping y'all would bring it up with the pad on the goalpost. there's things like that are going to happen because
for sure.
you haven't done it as many times because that was what, third home game
Yeah,
maybe?
it's third home game.
You know,
yeah.
And you don't have all that sit in place where if somebody's doing something else or it can't be there, you don't have the backups in place to know they've got to do this. Were there a lot of incidents like that, or did it kind of run smooth for most of those games?
It really it ran kind of smoothly. You know, we've got a group of guys, like I said, and we've got 2 former head coaches. Coach Childs has been a defensive coordinator at the 6A level. We've got multiple guys that have coached 5A, 6A football for a long time. So we all kind of know how things work on a Friday night. We didn't, as a first year as a program, varsity program, yes, but we've got guys that have coached 10, 15, 20 years at the varsity level. So we knew kind of how a Friday night works. Forgot to put the goalpost pad on, but other than that,
but the goalpost was there.
It was there.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. Just no pad.
Well, you've got AstroTurf, so you don't have to worry about forgetting to line the field.
Yeah,
we've seen that happen too. So,
yeah.
So what kind of, you mentioned a little bit, and I want to ask you to use an example, but like if a player has a personal foul, like what can they expect to happen when they come over to the sideline if they've landed that late hit out of bounds and it wasn't one of those situations where they didn't pull up where they really could have stopped themselves?
Well, obviously, it depends on the severity. If they get tossed, then obviously they're not playing the next game, but they're going to run the next week too. But if it's like you said, a later hit out of bounds or something like that, they're obviously going to come hang out with us on the sideline for a little bit. And depending on the situation, their position coach or another coach would talk not in a berating way, because I think that I don't think with this generation that you're going to get through to them like that. But take them aside, talk to them, and then after a while, go back out. But like I said, if they get tossed in the game, obviously they're not playing the next game, and there's going to be consequences on the next Monday. It's important to hold these kids accountable. If they miss practice, they've got to make that up. If they mess up in the game with a personal foul or something, to hold them accountable. And that's going to build that foundation of a program.
There's one other one I've been curious about, and it's a change that not doing Friday nights for a couple of years, I was surprised by the difference 5 years ago versus now. You've got so much more video footage now. You've got drone footage. When you have a situation like that, does it make another teaching opportunity where you can actually, it's not just an across the field kind of blurry thing. You're able to look right at what happened and look at it in multiple angles sometimes, where you can say, okay, this is where you pull up. This is where you can see what's going to happen. Do you have that ability to sit down with these guys and make
absolutely.
those kind of mistakes?
We use Huddle as our film, but we've got Huddle sideline. So we've got 2 or 3 iPads on the sideline that, if the internet's working well, that knock on wood, that a play will happen and then it'll come to the iPad and you can watch it, 15 seconds after the play happens. So it's a very good, and that's something that we use, a very good teaching point as far as a late hit or a penalty, but also like, hey, you didn't fill this gap or this was your block or something like that. So, yeah, we definitely use that.
Does that go back to also for the officials? Does that all that extra video you have now help you all teach officials?
So how that works, each school has a Huddle account, and they share that with our login. And if there's plays in it, we'll write them out down during the game. The third quarter, 4 minutes 20 seconds go, and then we'll go back and look at it. I mean, it's an opportunity for us to get better as well, and they share those with us, and we use that to get better. I mean, we criticize one another in the confines of our meetings. And what we say in the meetings, we keep in the meetings and all, and it's made clear to every official that this is not We're not penalizing you. We're not making fun of you. We're not doing anything like that. We're using this so next time maybe that won't happen. That shouldn't happen again. So you know what happened and you know how you should handle it. So we're fortunate. We got such good relationships with Eagleton and all our other schools that they share the video with us and allow us to use that. So it's helped.
And I don't think we give you all enough credit, but you all have to know your footwork and positioning just as much as the player does.
Absolutely. And people ask me, oh, what about this player, that player? We're working wide hat this year. Half the time I don't even know if it was caught, because I have to stay with the quarterback. I'm staying with all that blocking and all that going on, The players will lead you to it if they caught the ball, or you can also use a crowd reaction because it's like playing zone defense in basketball, right? Everybody's got their set of eyes should be here. We don't need 7 guys out there watching where the ball is. The ball never commits a foul itself, right? Or somebody looking at the air at the ball. It's not going to do anything. Keep your eyes on your player. You got keys, and we do those. We have training sessions, and we go through that and have little mini clinics with young guys, especially in scrimmages. We work scrimmages for these guys. We're the only association in the state that doesn't charge for that because that's where we use that to get our young guys better and our old guys, knock the rust off of it, and everybody thinking football in the preseason so we can hit the ground running.
Plus, anytime during a game you're not sure about something, you can always come to me, and I will give you a very strong, unbiased opinion about things.
Unbiased.
Yeah, I got put on the ground in a JV game when he was at Maryville College up there, and he was relentless making fun of me on the sideline. I started to carry a flag over and throw it on his feet.
I would not have done that.
Marcus, we'd like to take this opportunity to once again congratulate Eagleton College and Career Academy for this year's recipient of the Herman L. Ramsey Annual Sportsmanship Award. And we'd like to thank Jerry Barnes, our guest today from the Blount County Football Officials Association, the assigning officer, for being here to explain it all to us. And our old friend Steve Hodson coming in. He's the assigning officer.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Steve Hodson, the assigning officer. And Jerry, you're always so gracious to come in and present these awards, and we sure appreciate that.
I appreciate it, and so I speak for the association. We appreciate the opportunity to have this forum to present it to these guys, get them a little recognition for a job well done.
Yep.
All right, we appreciate it, Mike. I guess.
And before we get out of here, I'm going to tell you all about a sportsmanship situation that I had when I was playing ball at UT. We was playing Vanderbilt one night, and I had an instructor over there in the P department by the name of Sam Venerable. Big man. Some of you probably know Sam. He was either the timer or the scorer at the basketball games. I can't remember, but we was playing Vanderbilt, and it was an awful night. And there were some fouls called, and I had a foul called on me, and evidently Sam didn't like my expression on facial expression or whatever. So I went to his class the next day, and I walked. He was right there at the door, and he says, "Hey," he says, "listen, let me see you a second." He says, "I saw the ball game last night," and said, "You was a little upset with the officiating, wasn't you?" And I said, "Yeah, they were pretty bad. I mean, we got a lot of bad calls." He says, "Hey, you got a pencil? You got a pencil with you?" And I said, "Yeah, I take notes in your class." And I gave him a pencil. There wasn't no eraser on the pencil. And Sam said, "Looks like you've made a few mistakes yourself." And then he said, "You go on in there and sit down, and we'll have class." But anyway, I made sure that from then on I had an eraser on my pencil when I went to Sam's class. But I tell that story because his son, wrote for the paper for years over there at Sentinel, and he must have pulled that story on a lot of people or that deal on a lot of people because his son used to write about some of the stories that he had, but I had it actually pulled on me. So I don't know whether it did any good or not, but I'll never forget that. I was a sophomore at UT when that happened. Hey, it's time for a break, and when we return, it's the Boyd Sports Spotlight as Blount County Sports Hall of Famer Donnie Moore will have the sports headlines, and then our crew will talk some conference championship football. You're listening to the Goatee Sports page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
Since 1925, Anderson Lumber in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. But did you know Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store? You can stop in anytime and see our incredible kitchen showroom. From floors to cabinets and everything in between, Anderson Lumber's experts can help you design your dream kitchen. And then our install team will make it a reality.
Wow.
For anything home, we welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa or shop over 67,000 items online at AndersonLumberCompany.com. Anderson Lumber, since 1925.
Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com.
We all want our loved ones to be safe. Denso in Maryville is at the forefront of creating technology for safer vehicles. Join the automotive industry with Denso in a fast, challenging, clean, and safe environment. They offer great benefits and competitive pay, as well as a convenient on-site healthcare facility, cafes, fitness center, and more. Start your future now. Entry-level production positions start at $16 an hour for second or third shift. Visit densocareers.com/Maryville to learn more and apply. Merlin's Music World in Maryville is owned and operated by Dylan Davis and has been a fixture in Maryville since 1987. Guitars, amplifiers, lessons, sound system, and video system installations are products available at Merlin's. Merlin's also offers a 24-track digital recording studio featuring audio engineer Rusty Chambers. Visit Merlin's at 1920 East Lamar Alexander Parkway or call 977-0093.
It's payday, and on payday, you want to have access to your money right away. When you enroll for direct deposit at Knoxville TVA Employees Credit Union, your money comes to you with no waiting. It's the fastest and most secure way to get paid. Getting set up is easy. All you need is your account number and our routing number. Find out more at tvacreditunion.com.
Join us now.
Federally insured by NCUA. Some restrictions apply. Ask for details.
Welcome back to the Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards, and it's time for the Boyd's Sports Spotlight. Donnie Moore will be up first with the sports headlines, and Steve Hodson, grab a seat, Steve.
Uh-oh.
Donnie, I'm gonna talk to Hot here a little bit about SEC officiating and get his take on it. But first of all, give us some headlines, Donnie.
I can do.
Yep.
All right, Steelers quarterback Kenny Pickett knew that he had big shoes to fill when he came to Pittsburgh. Fans there would not soon forget their legendary signal caller, Ben Roethlisberger. But Pickett endeared himself to the savvy Steelers fans by making history during the win over Cincinnati this past Sunday. In the 16-10 victory, Pickett broke Big Ben's franchise record for most consecutive passes without an interception, 208.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Pickett has only thrown 4 interceptions this season and none since week 4. In the win over the Bengals, he went 24 of 33 for 278 yards with a passer rating of 97.8. Hey, that guy's doing things right, isn't he?
He certainly is and all that. I happen to know his father.
Cool.
His father played at Shippensburg University, where I coached at for 8 years and all that. And just really a great family.
Oh, yeah.
And it worked out great. He played at Pitt. Then he plays for the Steelers. I mean, it just really
hometown
good.
boy.
Yes,
I'm telling you,
exactly right.
He's a home state boy.
Yep.
Well, 32 female athletes from the University of Oregon filed a Title IX lawsuit Friday morning in federal court claiming the University of Oregon's athletic department is out of compliance with federal law banning sex discrimination in education. The lawsuit says the university's athletic department, quote, deprives women of equal treatment and benefits, equal athletic aid, and equal opportunities to participate in varsity intercollegiate athletics. This could be a can of worms, gentlemen.
Is that related to NIL money?
Can't be.
No.
Can't?
NIL money's not run by the school or the athletic
they
department.
make sure
I'm sure they don't have anything to do with that.
No.
And I'm Santa Claus ought to be out there in the parade.
Yeah. Does that have anything to do with
But I haven't read the details of it, but it has always been in my mind that when you have that agreement with Nike and you have 17 or 18 different uniforms whatever the football team has and different combinations, that if you aren't providing that to every single sport, then it actually violates Title IX.
That does. It violates Title IX by the letter of the law.
Now, I'm not sure if that's what they're discussing or if that's a part of it, but
they say when they go to practices and the restrooms are locked and they can't get in them, some of their outdoor activities, lacrosse and so on, women's lacrosse, they say that's not compliant with Title IX.
No, that's an administration error.
Yeah.
Are they complaining about guys playing in girls' sports now and all that? Has anything to do
I don't
with
know
all
what
that
has anything
all
to do
that
with
type
it or
of
not.
stuff?
Tony, the sky's the limit right here.
Yeah.
Well, they can take this on forward to it's Oregon. It's Oregon or Oregon State.
It's Oregon.
It's Oregon.
Well, they can take this on to the Big Ten, when they go on
That's right.
next year.
There's no more Pac.
Because all the money in the Pac-12 is just laying out there right now for Oregon State and Washington State. Yeah, they're going to be real rich when this thing's all over with. They're going to have a 2-team conference.
There you go. Hey.
Well, that leads me to my next item.
Yeah.
Leads me to my next item. Oregon State and Washington State, the lone remaining members of the Pac-12 conference, announced a scheduling agreement with the Mountain West Conference yesterday. The agreement gives the 2 remaining Pac-12 schools 6 opponents each and allows them to operate as a 2-team conference for at least a year.
Good for them.
All 11 Mountain West schools will be involved, and Oregon State and Washington State will each play 3 home games and 3 road games against members of a conference that includes Air Force, Boise State, Colorado State, San Diego State, Wyoming, Nevada, UNLV, San Jose State, Utah State, Fresno State, and New Mexico.
Yeah, and all that money stays in the bank out there. Then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2-team conference.
Yeah.
For at least a year.
Well, they're gonna take in that conference right there. What's going to happen? Or they're going to take in some of it.
I think
before it's all over with.
Well, Los Angeles Lakers forward LeBron James says that when his son, USC freshman guard Bronny James, makes his debut for the Trojans, James will skip his team's game. Back in July, Bronny James had a cardiac arrest while working out with Trojan teammates and had surgery to repair a congenital heart defect. He is now medically cleared to play this week, and he is set to begin practice next week, and he could play soon after that.
He has the largest NIL money contract right now. He makes $9.2 million NIL. Hasn't played a game yet.
Listen to this article. John and Patrick McEnroe. John and Patrick McEnroe. You remember those names.
Yeah.
They plan to play each other next week in what is being billed as the first tennis match ever played on the Serengeti Plain. Africa, Tanzania.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
The proposed match is not without its share of controversy, however. The venue is the traditional home of the indigenous Maasai people, who are in a struggle with the Tanzanian government for control of the land.
I don't even have words for that.
I don't either. I saw that and I said,
only John
wow.
McEnroe.
Only, yeah. He's always been controversial.
I mean, I don't know what the agenda is there, but just wow.
They're going to play outdoors on the Serengeti Plain amid roaming wild animals.
I wouldn't watch him playing his brother
a desert
over here at Springbrook Park. So the only interest is the backdrop, which I'm sure is probably part of the intent.
They'll have giraffes wandering around, and elephants, and kudu,
and Zulus, and
nude.
Okay,
let's move on. On this day in sports, December 2, 1947, the 13th Heisman Trophy was won by Johnny Lujack, quarterback of Notre Dame. There we go. 1948, the National League Most Valuable Player. He led the National League with a .365 batting average, 135 runs, 131 RBIs, 230 hits, 46 doubles, 18 triples, a .702 slugging percentage, and 39 home runs. Anybody want to venture a guess?
Stan Musial.
Stan Musial. Stan the man.
How about that?
I'm telling you,
how
he was a player.
Well, you got to say, hey, that's pretty good, Tony.
That's good, Tony. Good job, Tony. Led the National League in all those categories.
He's a great guy.
He was great. 1951, future Hall of Fame wide receiver Don Hutson has his number 14 jersey retired by the Packers. That was the first number retired in Jets franchise history.
In Jets?
I said Jets, didn't I? I mean Packers.
Packers.
Sorry about that.
Yep.
Packers franchise history. 1974, Major League Baseball Rules Committee authorizes the use of cowhide rather than only horsehide in the manufacture of baseballs. Used to be only horsehide could be used to manufacture baseballs.
They didn't want to lose any more horses.
Didn't want to lose any more horses.
Let's go after the cows.
1974. When I was 18 years old, I used to use baseballs made out of horsehide.
That's right. Yep.
Wow. 1989, the 55th Heisman was won by Houston quarterback Andre Ware. Remember him?
Great
pretty good player, wasn't he?
Yeah. Then he couldn't quite make it to the NFL. Didn't he go to the Canadian League?
I think he did go play in the Canadian League.
Played well, yeah.
Birthdays on this day. A couple of them are pretty famous people. 1973, she's 50 years old today. Monica Seles, great tennis player, Yugoslavian American. Monica Seles. She was a 9-time Grand Slam title champ. Won Grand Slam events 9 times. And 1983 born today, Packers and Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers. NFL Most Valuable Player in 2011 and 2014, and Super Bowl MVP in 2010.
Might come back at the end of the year.
Happy birthday, Aaron Rodgers. Yep. That's it for this week's Sports Headlines. Now let's bring the Boyd Sports Spotlight into sharp focus. Back to you, Gunner.
Thank you. It's Spotlight now. We're going to bring back in Coach Tony Iruli and veteran sports writer Marcus Fitzsimmons and Blount County Sports Hall of Famer Donnie Moore and Steve Hodgson, Blount County Hall of Famers, with us also. But
welcome,
getting back to Johnny Lujack. Johnny Lujack, when he first broke in, Notre Dame had a quarterback by the name of Angelo Bertelli. He was a great quarterback. He may have won the Heisman, Bertelli. But anyway, Notre Dame was undefeated. Army was undefeated, and they were getting ready to play. I mean, this is the game of the year back when they were powers. And they drafted Bertelli into the Army the week before the game. So that throws Johnny Lujack into the quarterback situation. So I think that was a couple of years before he won the Heisman in 47, but that's how he broke in. They drafted Bertelli into the military the week before the Army game.
You know,
what was going on with that? A little bit of politics, I guess.
You know, Mike, I worked for the guy that backed up Jay Berwinger, Harry Nacy, that was the president of Hamilton National Bank for years. He was the backup running back to Jay Berwinger, who was the first guy to win the Heisman.
Yeah, amazing. Hey, before we get to Steve here, I want to wrap up Tennessee basketball. That game against North Carolina, Donnie, well played. 9 turnovers for North Carolina, only 7 turnovers for Tennessee. The Vols shot 55.6% from the field. They were having some troubles shooting the ball in some of their previous games against outstanding talent. They've the 3 losses that they've got, their record's 4-3. 3 losses are to top 20 teams. And where they go from here, where they got Illinois coming up, and then they got North Carolina State on a neutral court. Then they got some cupcakes thrown in there. So, hey, this basketball team's going to be fine. They're just trying to feel everybody out, get the right combinations, and they're going to be it's going to be an outstanding basketball season over there for UT. I feel certain. It just takes some time. I do have one question, Marcus. You might know this. Santiago Vescovi did not play the second half until right there at the end when they lost Connect. You know, here's your best, probably one of your best defensive players, a scorer. Did you find it? Did anybody know why he didn't play the second half the other night? I haven't heard anything about it, but
I didn't hear anything official, but I would guess Connect came out so hot they didn't want to pull him because he lit it up.
Yeah, and Josiah Jordan-James was playing well over there on the other perimeter.
I mean, I hate to say you don't need Vescovy, but with what the personnel they had on the floor and needed to have on the floor for Connect to be effective, I don't know that there was a fourth spot where you needed Vescovy.
Yeah. Well, in that ACC-SEC challenge, each league won 7 games. The other striking thing was it was a tough week for the ranked teams. All lost except North Carolina. And, North Carolina played Tennessee, so somebody had to lose there. But all the other teams that were ranked lost in the games. So, anyway.
Tennessee didn't play the first half.
Huh?
You talking about
they got
second half.
Right. They down 24 points, hard to come back.
I think the worst combination of choices was the game following, as after the Tennessee game. You could either watch Duke and Arkansas on ESPN, or you could flip to ESPN2 and watch Auburn. And the Auburn game was horrifically bad, while the Duke-Arkansas game was horrifically good.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a fantastic game to watch. I don't know if anybody watched ESPN2 outside the state of Alabama.
Arkansas's fans stormed the court. They're going to get a fine. Last night, Northwestern beat Purdue up at Evanston, Illinois, up at Northwestern. It's second time in 2 years. This year and last year, they beat Purdue. So they beat them again last night in overtime. Hey, Steve Hodson,
yes, sir.
Got you in here. Last week in the SEC football, watching most of the game, it was a rough week for officials. There were a couple of games where they almost let it get away, didn't they? Huh?
Well,
What's going on?
They did in the Tennessee game. That referee that refereed Tennessee Vandy game is normally a very good referee. I don't know what happened to that crew that day, but you got a quarterback standing beside of you, hands down with the ball, dead ball, and they deck him, no flags, nothing. That's what created it. And then they did it twice in that same back-to-back.
It's almost like basketball. You got to protect the quarterback,
right, exactly.
And you got to protect the shooter. In basketball, if you don't do those two things, you're going to get yourself in a heap of trouble. I don't blame the Vandy coach. I mean, he had to, and it was pretty obvious. I guess that's one of those deals where instant replay could come in handy if you could use it, but you can't use it.
I thought about that last night in watching some high school. I've been watching high school the championship game, and Alcoa had 2 plays that would have been non-touchdowns if you had instant replay. And the ones I'm talking about. 0 on out of bounds. He never had control of the ball. And then that one-arm catch in the corner there, the ball hit the ground when he went down and bounced back to him. And they were both touchdowns.
Yeah, they sure were.
And, instant replay. And I think, from what I understand, that might be coming in the championship games at some point.
Well, really? I don't blame them. You got to get things right.
Yeah.
It would make a difference. It would really make a difference. The officiating, as Jerry talked about, as far as Blount County, we've got Chris Clark we lost basically this year to the Southern Conference. He still works some for us, but Chris is on a crew, and he could only work games that Quarles was not involved in since he's from Maryville. But we don't have to worry about that now. I don't know what George is going to do. I haven't heard any rumors about anything, but
he's been approached by a couple of the private high schools.
Yeah, I figured Kingsport would look at him anyway.
A couple in the Nashville area.
Yeah, he won't go Nashville.
Yeah.
He won't go that way. Leslie won't let him go out of East Tennessee. I don't think. And she runs the ball up there. But
if they pay him real good, they can certainly do that.
His situation up there it's really bad because of the fact that we talk about the NIL money and the transfer portal.
Yeah,
he don't have a chance if he's got a pretty good player.
Well, first of all, we talked about it last week. I was really upset about the whole deal of him being dismissed.
Well,
I mean, it's just, he got in there. They had about 30 players transfer out because they're coming off a real good year. And that's the problem with us. I keep calling them the 1AA level type of teams that you got good ball players, Sanford, Chattanooga, all those schools like this, you got good ball players, they leave. And he had a lot leave. And then this past year, he had a whole bunch of injuries.
Well, his quarterback, his starting quarterback, left for NIL money and went to Tennessee to be the quarterback for the scout team, and he don't even get to dress.
Yeah, and that's the problem with it right there.
So a school like East Tennessee State, Western Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky, they've got some players.
Sure.
So that happened.
Hey, let's talk about the college football playoffs. And, Tony, I'm going to start with you. We had 4 openings for the playoffs yesterday, and 1 ticket has been punched as Washington beat Oregon last night 34-31. It was a big night for both quarterbacks.
Sure.
Michael Penix Jr. and Washington, and Bo Nix at Oregon.
It was a great game.
Washington wins the Pac-12, and now there's 3 spots open. So Washington was ranked number 3. They're in.
Right.
They're in. So that's a done deal. And I watched Penix last night. Didn't he start out here at UT?
Yep.
Yeah, buddy.
Yep.
Well, he ended pretty strong, didn't he, Tony?
Ended up pretty strong.
Yeah.
And Bo Nix started off down at Auburn.
Yeah.
And
given how many injuries he suffered at Indiana, the fact he's still able to perform at that level with 2 major knee surgeries, I mean, that's just amazing.
Yeah. Well, we've got Georgia and Alabama today, so let's talk about this a little bit.
What time is that game?
That game is at 4 o'clock on CBS. Let's say Alabama, Georgia's only a 4.5-point favorite. Let's say Alabama wins that game. Who goes? Or does either one of them go?
If Alabama wins?
Yeah.
If Alabama wins, this is a mess.
Yeah.
If Alabama wins, then you got Texas, and they're a 15-point favorite against Oklahoma State. So they've beaten Alabama, so you got a little chaos right there. I don't know. Georgia's ranked number 1. Do you go ahead and keep Georgia even though they lost because they're already ahead of Alabama? But Alabama's going to say, well, we beat you.
That's right.
But Texas is going, well, we beat you, Alabama. So where are we at here?
If Alabama
then
wins,
you got
then
Michigan.
you need Louisville to win.
Huh?
If Alabama wins, then you've got to pray, if you're the selection committee, that Louisville wins and upsets Florida State.
Yeah.
Well, Florida State's got problems with their quarterback because
they sure do.
Well, they didn't stop him against Florida last week.
They sure do.
Well, no, he was injured. He got injured and may not play.
Well, yeah, but the third string guy to finish that game.
In the day, Florida State's the most vulnerable. They're a 1.5-point favorite, Tony, because of the quarterback situation,
Correct.
I'm sure.
Correct, yeah.
Here they are back in the hunt again for a national championship, and they've got quarterback problems. The same thing that happened when Tennessee won the national championship in '98. Florida State had quarterback problems with down there.
Yep.
And they started, they started somebody, I don't don't even know if he was a quarterback. They just had to get somebody to play it.
Sure.
But they were really at a disadvantage, and here they are back again, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, he got a head injury late in the game, and so now they're talking about having their third-string quarterback starting the championship game against Louisville.
Yeah.
And I still think somehow, some way, that if Alabama beats Georgia, I think they're going to find a way to get both of them in the Final Four.
I don't know about that.
If Alabama beats Georgia and Florida State wins, you got to face the possibility the SEC may be left out.
Yeah,
do you think so?
That would be. But, you're looking at Georgia at number 1. They could say, hey, look, we lost to Alabama. They're number 8. Maybe we shouldn't be penalized. Maybe we should, we're the higher-ranked team here, and we've only got 1 loss. I don't know what the committee's going to do.
I would not want to be on the committee this year.
Well,
because you are eating antacids today at a remarkable rate.
This would have been a good year for the 12-team playoff that we're going to have next year.
Yeah, Washington made the job a little bit easier last night. I mean,
Sure.
And listen, it could be easy today. Georgia could win. Michigan could win. And I think Florida State's the most vulnerable right there. But, I mean, you never know what's going to happen. But, if Florida State loses, then you got a spot there.
Right.
Possible spot. Hey, we got time for a break here, and when we return, it's the Bold Prediction segment. You're listening to the Goatee Sports page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
The Bluetick Tavern is home to the tastiest pizza in Blount County. Try our signature Broadway barbecue pizza, grilled chicken and red onions covered in mounds of mozzarella. Or sink your teeth into our one-of-a-kind chicken and bacon pizza, made with an olive oil base, grilled chicken, bacon, red onions, and covered in Brussels petals. The Bluetick Tavern also has salads, sandwiches, and the area's largest beer selection. Regularly recognized as the best pizza in Blount County, it's the Bluetick Tavern, located at 128 West Broadway in downtown Maryville. Waters Equipment is your East Tennessee New Holland agriculture and construction dealer. Waters Equipment has been serving Blount County for 48 years and has 2 locations in Maryville for sales and service for New Holland equipment. Offering shop and field service for trucks and equipment of all brands, Waters offers equipment rentals for New Holland skid steer, Mini X, and tractors. Call 238-9000 for your rental needs. That's 238-9000. Waters Equipment New Holland, excellence in service. For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at StevensonTire.net. Your newspaper? That's right. The Daily Times is your newspaper, tailored to where you live, emphasizing the things that affect you and keeping track of the people and players in our community. The award-winning Daily Times can be delivered each morning right to your door or inbox with the latest in local news and sports. For a 30-day free trial offer, call 981-1100 and begin enjoying your life, your times, every day with the Daily Times. The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today: call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month.
Welcome back to the Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards, and it's time for this week's Bowl Predictions segment. I'm here with Coach Tony O'Reilly and Marcus Fitzsimmons and Steve Hodson and Donnie Moore. And before we get to the picks, Coach O'Reilly, Mike Elko is going to be the new head coach at Texas A&M. He was at Duke. Yep. He's going to get 6 years, $42 million, about $7 million a year. So he's going to.
He doesn't have the Jimbo Fisher contract.
He doesn't. Well, he's got a tough opener. He plays.
Who does?
He's going to open up. He's
not even Jimbo.
No. He's going to open up at home against Notre Dame in the fall. So he's got a tough opener. And Indiana has hired Kurt Cignetti. You know, we've talked about that. And he was 52-9 at James Madison. His overall record at other schools was 119-35. I think this is a great hire for Indiana.
I think so, too.
I think
he comes from a great family and all that. He's got a brother that coaches in the NFL. His father was Frank Cignetti, who followed Bobby Bowden at West Virginia University, and later was the head coach at Indiana of Pennsylvania IUP.
Yeah, and the real shocker, a little bit of a shocker, is Bobby Petrino heading back to Arkansas as an assistant coach. I thought that was a little bit. I had to kind of look twice on that one.
Just as long as he doesn't bring his motorcycle, I guess it's okay.
Yeah,
he was sitting in the stands during the Duke-Arkansas game. They zeroed in on him a couple times to show him back.
Yeah.
Show that he was back in hog country.
I hope everything.
I can't believe that.
I hope everything goes well down there, because it would really be ironic if he's put in as an interim coach down there in Arkansas again after what happened.
So, any female GA in the athletic department, don't go on any bike rides.
Exactly. He's going to have some kind of guards set up with him, 24-hour surveillance down there. Hey, the bowl prediction segment, Donnie, you're 11-9. I'm 11-9. Tony 6-4. Marcus is 9-11. So
9-11.
Yeah.
I do.
So
Still.
Oh, wait a minute. Is the second number not supposed to be the big one?
And we're going to let Steve Hodson in on this.
Go on,
number 18, Oklahoma State and Texas. Number 7, Texas. That game's at 12 o'clock on ABC. It's going to be firing up here in just a few minutes. Texas is a 15-point spread. You got to pick against the spread. Got to pick against the spread. Tony, who you like in this one? Both teams can put up numbers.
Yep.
Oklahoma State not so good on defense, but
yeah, I'm going to go with Texas.
Okay, Marcus.
I'm going to go with Texas. I think they're going to put up enough points just to try to stay in the CFP.
Steve Hodson.
Longhorn.
There you go.
Good. And he gave
Donnie.
Donnie's
got Texas.
Horns.
Horns.
I'm gonna go with Texas right here. They got too much on the line today, boy. They do. They got everything on the line.
How about the story that came out at Oklahoma State that someone left a dead longhorn in front of one of the fraternity houses and all that.
Number 1 Georgia against number 8 Alabama. Georgia's a 4.5-point favorite. It's on CBS at 4 o'clock. Marcus, let you go first.
As exciting as the end of the Alabama-Auburn game was, it doesn't say to me that Alabama is capable of hanging with Georgia. It says all it said to me was that if it's a close game, Alabama could pull it off. So I think Georgia's going to win this one and win it big.
Hey,
where's this one played?
It's Atlanta.
Neutral site.
Yeah, Atlanta.
Yeah. Steve Hodson.
Okay.
Through 2036 now.
I'm going with the Dogs.
Wow.
All the way with
Dogs.
the Dogs.
Donnie.
I think Georgia's got too much firepower for Alabama.
Boy. Tony?
I'm going with Alabama because my entire household is Alabama fans, and my safety and security would be.
I'm telling you right now, this is a tough pick right here because neither one of them showed a lot last week.
No, they didn't.
Georgia struggled down there at Georgia Tech. Now, I know they didn't have their 2 fine receivers, McConkey and Bowers. Playing in that game down there, but they struggled down there. Of course, Alabama should have been beat. I'm going to tell you right now, they were beat. Lock, stock, and barrel, boy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Bowers is a beast, isn't he?
Yeah. You can talk about roll tide all you want. You can rub it in on Auburn all you want, but I'm going to tell you right now, they darn beat last week.
Yeah,
that was that was luck.
I can go on for minutes about what happened wrong and that one last play with the coverage and only rushed 2 and no one rushed. He had 11 seconds to throw the football.
The guy's going to catch the football, pass interference. Don't let him catch. The last thing you can let him do is catch the ball in the end zone. You can't let him do that. I'm going to take. I'm going to go with Saban. I'm going to go with. I'm not saying that Alabama's going to win, but I'm going to go with the spread. I think it's going to be closer than a lot of people think.
Yeah,
I'm going to take Alabama. Michigan and Iowa, they're in Indianapolis.
I just think that if Alabama wins, it's going to create a mess on the Final Four pick.
They will that.
Yeah.
Hey, Michigan and Iowa are going to be in Indianapolis. Michigan with a big win over Ohio State. They won the Big Ten East, and Iowa won the Big Ten West. Steve Hodson.
I'll go with Michigan.
All right. Steve got Michigan. Donnie?
I got to go with
That's a 22-point spread, by the way.
Oh, my goodness.
22 points.
I still got to go with the Wolverines.
All right.
Even at that big
I'm going to tell you, Iowa's got a heck of a punter. They got a heck of a punter. I'm going to tell you what, every time he punts, Michigan's going to go 90 yards at least. And Iowa's going to run the football.
Yep.
I'm going to take the spread.
Yep.
I'm going to take the spread in this for some reason or another. I guess it's probably just craziness. But if I was going to run the ball and run the clock and kick the ball, make them go, make Michigan run the ball, which they like to do, the entire field, maybe they can hold the 22 points. I don't know.
I'm doing the same thing, too. I'm going with Iowa with the spread because
they
play good defense.
Take the points.
Punting's got away since a calf ago.
Yeah. Well, he's alive and well at Iowa.
I know.
Yeah, alive and well up there.
One step.
What do you think, Marcus?
22 points.
22 points.
if I'm thinking that
Defense.
Michigan could give up 10 or 13, do I think Michigan can score 35 against Iowa? I think they can. I really think Michigan could do that because they've embarrassed Iowa the last couple times they've played.
I know they have.
I'm going to go with Michigan.
Okay.
I'll take 22 points doesn't bother me.
Okay. All right, we got and that game, by the way, Michigan and I was on Fox at 8 o'clock tonight. Big Ten championship. Hey, Louisville, number 14 Louisville, and number 4 Florida State. This is the game that has a lot of interest because of the quarterback situation at Florida State, and we don't know how that's going to turn out with the committee, even if they win. Mm-hmm. I think Florida State's in if they win. If they're 13-0, I don't care if your quarterback plays or not. You've run the table in a Power 5 conference and won that league.
You're 13-0. Absolutely.
I think they're in.
Yeah.
I think they're in. But if they lose, then they're out. Donnie,
where
that spreads 1.5 points.
Where are they playing this one?
Oh man, where are they? They
Charlotte?
play Charlotte, didn't it?
At Charlotte.
Yeah.
Okay. Louisville and Florida State. Wow.
Hey, you might need another shave.
We're going to have a time limit on this here.
I get a coin. I got to flip a coin on this one.
The spread, Donnie. Remember the spread.
Yeah, 1.5.
Has he picked yet?
I'm going to take. I'm going to take the Noles.
All right.
Because of who pays my salary.
Donnie takes the Noles. I'll tell you what. I'm going to take Florida State, and the reason I'm going to take them, Louisville lost to Kentucky. You know what I'm saying? They lost to Kentucky.
Well, that's a good point.
And I think Florida State, even with a fifth-string quarterback, is better than Kentucky. And I'm going to stay with the Seminoles today. I just prefer both of them to lose.
Good point.
But, you know, Tony, what do you think?
I'm going to go Florida State too.
Okay.
I think they'll find a way.
Okay.
Even if they're third-string guy, I think they'll have enough.
Marcus?
Well, I'm going to continue with your analogy. Louisville lost to Kentucky, but Kentucky beat Florida, and Florida almost beat Florida State. So I'm going to go.
There's a lot of connecting the dots on that one.
I'm going to go switch to Donnie and say our boss goes to Florida State, so am I.
Okay, sure.
Marcus is going to complicate it.
Marcus is going with Florida State.
I simplified it at the end, though, Odd.
Yeah.
The guy who pays my paycheck helps me decide.
I understand.
Tony, thanks for coming around again this morning, boy. I tell you what, we've enjoyed it.
It's always great being around smart, intelligent people.
Been a good morning, and we're still going, and the parade's still going, but we're going to have to end up.
Yep.
And Steve Hodson, good to see you. Come back and see us. Come back and see us any Saturday, guy. You're always.
I do. I appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah. How's Kenny Kohler getting along?
Kohler's he's
doing good.
He's doing okay. He's still getting his Cracker Barrel every day if he can. But he's wearing his mask and staying at home now a little bit because of certain things.
Yeah.
But he's doing good.
Well, that's good. That's
Tell
good.
him we said hello.
I have to take him to Townsend for a slaw dog about once every week and a half.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
There's worse jobs in the world.
You got that right.
There's worse things in the world to have to do.
Yeah, I get him in that Corvette and scare him right there at that straightaway.
I started to ask if you could take him in that vet.
Yeah, I do.
All right, here we go.
Yeah. Hey, that'll do it for today's edition of the Goatee Sports Page. Thanks to Aaron Ishmael back at Loud Media, our host of the Blue Tick Tavern, and all our sponsors. For Donnie Moore, Marcus Fitzsimmons, and Coach Tony Iruli. Until next Saturday, this is Mike Edwards, the Greenfield Gunner, wishing everyone good sports.